Stop scrolling for a second and imagine this. Elite Korean commandos trained for years to control every movement, standing in silence because one skill kept slipping through their fingers. A Filipino instructor steps forward and says nothing dramatic. Yet what follows quietly rewrites everything they believe about mastery. Stay with this story, because the ending doesn't arrive where you expect. Before we begin, comment below where you're watching from. Different places, different perspectives. The story touches all of them. What happens when the most disciplined units meet a lesson that can't be forced, drilled, or commanded? The training camp sat far from any city, surrounded by uneven ground and unpredictable weather. Korean commandos arrived with precision, routines timed to the second, equipment arranged with obsessive symmetry. They were known for control, for discipline, for repetition, until perfection. The exchange program wasn't meant to challenge them, only refine them. The Filipino instructor assigned to the course wasn't famous. He didn't arrive with accolades or dramatic introductions. He watched, he listened, and from the first day, he noticed something others miss. These commandos executed flawlessly, yet hesitated when control disappeared. That hesitation would become the heart of the lesson. The skill wasn't combat or tactics. It wasn't survival or marksmanship. It was decision flow under uncertainty, acted without full information, without confirmation, without reassurance. Korean commandos trained to eliminate uncertainty. They planned for every variable. But the instructor designed exercises where variables multiplied faster than plans. Radios failed. Timelines shifted. Instructions arrived late, or not at all. The commandos paused, waiting to realign. The pause was subtle, almost invisible, but it existed. The Filipino instructor saw it clearly, and instead of correcting them, he let the silence stretch. That silence would do the teaching. On the second day, frustration appeared, not outwardly, but internally. The commandos completed tasks, yet something felt off. Results were slower. Adjustments took longer. They asked for clarification. That never came. The instructor simply observed, occasionally asking one question. What do you do if no one answers? At first, the commandos treated it as rhetorical, then as unfair, then as unsettling. Their training had conditioned them to seek alignment before action. But here, alignment was deliberately withheld. The discomfort wasn't physical. It was psychological, and it grew with every exercise, tightening the tension without anyone raising their voice. That night, discussion stayed formal. No one complained. No one challenged the setup. Discipline held. But internally, the commandos replayed moments of hesitation. They weren't used to uncertainty lingering. The Filipino instructor, meanwhile, prepared the next phase. He wasn't trying to outsmart them. He was trying to show them something they couldn't be told. The next morning, he removed even more structure. No schedules, no explicit objectives, just terrain and a vague purpose. Finish when you believe it's finished, he said. The commandos exchanged glances. That sentence violated everything they trusted. The exercise unfolded slowly. Without clear endpoints, the commandos defaulted to caution. They gathered, discussed, recalculated. Efficiency dropped. The instructor walked among them, silent. At one point, a junior commando acted independently, briefly, instinctively, and succeeded. The group corrected him immediately. Discipline reasserted itself. The instructor later asked why. The answer was immediate. Unity requires permission. He nodded, not disagreeing. Then he asked another question that lingered uncomfortably. What if unity requires trust instead? No one answered, because trust without permission felt like risk, and risk without approval felt wrong. The next scenario forced separation. Teams were split without notice. Objectives conflicted. Communication remained unreliable. The commandos tried to regroup, to restore order. Time slipped away. Meanwhile, the Filipino instructor observed how often decisions waited for validation. When the exercise ended, results were mixed. No failure, no success, just inefficiency. In the debrief, the instructor finally spoke at length. He didn't criticize. He described moments when action could have occurred sooner, when initiative could have reduced confusion. He didn't say they were wrong. He said they were careful. And sometimes careful is costly. That distinction landed heavily. Careful had always been praised. Careful prevented mistakes. But here, careful slowed momentum. The instructor shared stories, not heroic ones, but mundane ones. Patrols where orders never arrived. Operations where leaders were absent. Situations where waiting meant losing opportunity. He explained that the skill wasn't acting recklessly. It was committing to a decision with incomplete certainty, then adapting instantly. Korean commandos understood the concept intellectually, but practice revealed resistance. Their bodies moved before their minds allowed it. Breaking that loop required something deeper than drills. It required reframing trust. The following days intensified the pressure. Exercises overlapped. Instructions contradicted each other. The commandos grew uncomfortable, not angry, but strained. Their discipline remained intact, yet their confidence wavered. They weren't used to ambiguity, lingering unresolved. The Filipino instructor finally demonstrated. During one scenario, he deliberately acted without confirmation. His decision wasn't perfect, but it created momentum. Others adjusted. The objective was achieved faster than before. The commandos noticed something unsettling. The instructor didn't see correctness. He sought movement. That difference challenged their identity. Movement without certainty felt irresponsible until they saw it work. The skill revealed itself gradually. It wasn't boldness. It wasn't intuition. It was commitment. Committing to a decision, knowing it might be wrong, and being ready to abandon it instantly. Korean commandos were trained to commit after validation. Here, commitment came before reassurance. That inversion felt dangerous, yet repeated demonstrations showed its value. The instructor emphasized that hesitation wasn't neutral. It shaped outcomes too. Doing nothing was still a decision. Once framed that way, silence lost its safety. The commandos began experimenting cautiously. Small decisions, quick reversals. The tension shifted from fear of error to fear of delay. Midway through the program, something changed. During a chaotic scenario, a team acted without regrouping. They trusted shared intent. They adjusted on the move. It wasn't flawless, but it was fluid. The instructor ended the exercise early. He didn't praise them. He simply asked how it felt. One commando answered honestly, uncomfortable, but alive. That word lingered. Alive meant engaged, responsive, present. The instructor nodded. That's the skill, he said. Staying alive inside uncertainty. The commandos realized this couldn't be mastered through repetition alone. It required permission to be imperfect. Resistance didn't disappear. Senior commandos worried about erosion of discipline. Structure existed for a reason. The instructor agreed. He clarified that structure wasn't the enemy. Rigidity was. The skill wasn't replacing discipline. It was complementing it. Discipline provided foundation. Decision flow provided flexibility. Together, they created resilience. Without one, the other failed. This reframing eased tension. The commandos stopped seeing the skill as rebellion. They began seeing it as responsibility. Acting without orders meant owning outcomes fully. No excuses, no deflection. That ownership felt heavy, but empowering. And slowly, competence replaced discomfort. As exercises continued, observers noticed faster recovery from mistakes. Teams adapted mid-action. They no longer waited for alignment to resume movement. Instead, alignment emerged through action. The Filipino instructor stepped back more often. His role diminished as theirs grew. That was intentional. The skill couldn't be taught by presence alone. It had to survive absence. One day, he didn't appear at all. The commandos ran the exercise themselves. It was messy. It was imperfect. But it moved. At the end, they realized something quietly profound. They hadn't needed permission to begin. The realization wasn't celebrated. It settled slowly. Over meals, discussions shifted. Fewer questions about correct procedures. More questions about intent. About threshold for action. About when waiting helps and when it harms. The instructor returned the next day and listened. He answered selectively. He emphasized reflection over instruction. "If you can explain why you acted," he said, "you're already ahead." That statement reframed accountability. It wasn't about compliance. It was about reasoning. Korean commandos excelled at execution. Now, they were learning to articulate judgment. That articulation sharpened the skill further. Toward the end, a final scenario was introduced. It combined everything: limited information, conflicting goals, time pressure. The commandos approached it differently. They moved sooner, adjusted faster, accepted mistakes without freezing. The result wasn't perfect, but it was decisive. The instructor ended the exercise quietly. In the debrief, no one spoke for a long moment. Then a senior commando said something unexpected. "We were waiting for control. We learned to move without it." That admission carried weight. It acknowledged growth without denying discipline. The instructor smiled briefly. That was enough. The exchange concluded without ceremony. No awards, no speeches, but something had shifted. The Korean commandos hadn't mastered the skill fully. They understood that mastery might never be complete. It was a practice, not a technique. The Filipino instructor left without fanfare. His lesson remained. It would surface later, in real operations, in moments where silence replaced orders. When that happened, hesitation would no longer feel safe. Action would, not reckless action, but responsible commitment. That distinction mattered, and it was learned quietly, through discomfort rather than instruction. If you're still watching, consider why this story holds you. It isn't spectacle, it's recognition. Many people operate in systems that reward waiting for clarity, yet life rarely offers it. The pain point is universal. When to act without certainty. This story doesn't glorify risk. It reframes it. The skill taught wasn't dramatic. It was subtle, and that subtlety made it powerful. Korean commandos didn't fail. They evolved. Filipino instruction didn't dominate. It revealed. That dynamic is rare, and when it happens, it leaves traces long after the exercise ends. In the end, the skill couldn't be mastered like a drill. It had to be lived, and once lived, it changed how everything else was applied. Discipline became a tool, not a cage. Control became a guide, not a requirement. The Filipino instructor taught that by stepping aside, not stepping forward. That's why the lesson endured. If this story resonated, share it. Comment what stood out. And remember, sometimes the hardest skill isn't doing more. It's moving before certainty arrives.